Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Srimate Shankaracharya Dhimate Advaita Namos Advaita Vedanta Sthapanopattamurtaye Shri Harim Paramanandam Upadeshtaramishwaram Vyapakam Sarvalokanam Karanam Tam Namamyaham Aparokṣānubhūti Moksha Siddhaye Saddhireva Prayatnena Vikshaniya Muhurmuhu. So far, the nature of the Atman and the Anatman, the contrast between them has been very clearly stated, and the various objections for considering the Anatman to be the Atman, they were also considered. And in the 43rd shloka, the nature of the adhyasa, that is the error, taking one thing for another, that has been started. And in the 44th shloka, the exact way in which the adhyasa happens, that is being stated. So, ivaga 44ನೇ shloka ogunbodu ivaga.
Rajva jnanat kshanenaiva yadvad rajurhi sarpini bhati tadvachitis sakshat vishvakarena kevala. Rajva jnanat, from the ignorance of the rope, kshanena, at the instant, eva, very, yadvad, as, rajju, a rope, he, verily, sarpini, a snake, bhati, appears, tatvat, so too, chitihi, consciousness, sakshat, itself directly, vishvakarena, as the world of plurality, kevala, pure.
So the famous or popular analogy of rope snake is being stated here. Rajju ajnanat kshanenaiva yadvad rajurhi sarpini. That is, the mistaking the rope for the snake happens in a moment, doesn't take time. There is the ignorance about the rope. As a result, the superimposition of the snake happens. It is not, there's no rule that only a snake should be superimposed. There can be other things also which are somewhat similar to the rope. The shape like a garland or a stick or a creek on the a slit on the floor, ground, and things like that. So many other things are also possible. But the famous example is taking the rope to be a snake, because by giving this example, the anartha, that is the disaster that happens, that follows the mistake, can be highlighted. So a person who sees a snake in a rope, even though he doesn't know that it's a rope really, he is definitely afflicted by fear and things like that. So this is the example which is given here for the case of taking the Brahman to be the world and Brahman to be the body. So this body-mind complex gives so many problems. So this is called samsara. So to highlight that, this example is given. Rajju ajnanat, because of the ignorance pertaining to the rope, in a moment, what happens is the snake is perceived or snake is imagined to be there, but then the person doesn't know that it's an imagination. He thinks it's real. Bhati tadvat chitihi. The same way, pure consciousness, sakshat vishvakarena kevala. So this pure consciousness, which is the truth, and this is the only one available, which is the only one entity that is taken to be the world, the whole world. And the whole world includes the body-mind complex also, the seer, the perceiver, the observer, and the observed world. So the whole thing is concocted. And then the other example for us, the day-to-day example, is the dream. So the moment the dream starts, we have the seer, that is, we ourselves are there in the dream. We identify with one entity in the dream as ourselves, and then everything else as the observed world. So this also happens in the dream. Just like this, one consciousness or one person alone who is sleeping on the bed, he is perceiving so many entities, so many objects, inert objects and sentient entities and all that along with himself. in the dream. In the same way, one pure consciousness itself is appearing to be the world of observer and observed. So this is being stated in this sloka. So in the commentary, the Acharya says, Swami Vidyaranya, Idani Purvoktameva Drishtantam Vibrinman Sarvasyapi Prapanchasya Brahmarupatam Aha. So the example of the rope snake, which has been taken up, considered in the earlier slokas, that is continued here to show that the whole world is Brahman alone. So Brahmarupatam Aha, Vishwas Sarvasyapi Prapanchasya Brahmarupatam Aha. So Brahman alone is appearing as the observer, and Brahman alone is appearing as the observed also. Kevala iti visheshanena purvavastham aparityajya avasthantara prapti lakshana vivartopadanatvam eva uktam. So here the Acharya is giving a very crisp definition for the concept of vivarta. Vivartavada is very, very popular in Advaita alone. What it means is one object, without undergoing any change whatsoever in it, appears to be something different to the observer. So this is called vivarta. Whereas in the case of the clay undergoes a change to appear as a pot and so many other clay products. So in the case of vivarta, the mula karanam or the substratum, the only object available or the object which we are considering as the substratum for the error, that doesn't undergo any change whatsoever. It remains as it is. But then it appears to be something else for the observer because of the dosha or the defect in the observer's mind or observer's sense organs, or possibly some defects in the place where the object is located. So all these things contribute to the taking the object to be something else. So purvavastham aparityajya, that is, its original nature is not given up. That is, the original nature is here the rope. So the rope nature is not given up. Aparityajya avasthantara praptihi. It takes on a different state altogether. So the object is in the rope state now, and it takes on a snake state, but then it doesn't undergo any real change. No vikara, no parinama happens there. Purvavastham aparityajya avasthantara prapti lakshana vivartopadanatvam uktam. So upadana karanam is the material cause, which is distinct from the efficient cause. So in the case of the clay is in the case of the pot, the clay is the upadana karana, material cause, and it undergoes a change, and the plot is manufactured. Whereas in the case of the rope snake, the rope is the upadana karanam, material cause, but then it doesn't undergo any change, and still yet it appears to be a snake or some other object to the observer. So this is called vivarta upadanatum, vivarta upadanatum. So there, in the case of the clay pot, clay is the parinami upadana karanam, whereas in the case of the rope snake, the rope is the vivarta upadana karanam. Na arambha upadanatvam napi parinama upadanatvam iti bodhyam anyat spashtam. So in this case, the Acharya is giving two examples of the Nyaya Shastra, Nayayika, or the Vaisheshika, and another of the Sankhya. So in the case of the Vaisheshika, he doesn't have a upadana karanam, which is the even he accepts, of course, the karanam of clay, but then in his case, the pot which was not there before, that alone appears now because of the potter's some activity of the potter along with the clay. So he doesn't accept the clay, the pot was already there in a hidden form or in a latent form in the clay. So in this case, that's how he explains the production of things and the production of the world. In the case of the Sankhya, no doubt, he takes the same example of the clay and the pot, and he says that the pot was already existent in the clay in a latent form. So now it has only become patent because of the activity of the potter, by the potter. So this is the difference between these two vadas. The first one is called Arambhavada, And in the second case, in the Sankhya's case, it is called Parinamavada. Parinama is transformation. In the case of Arambhavada, it is coming into being. If something new is coming into being that was not existent before, that is coming into being is the case of the Arambhavada or the Vaisheshika. Whereas the case of the Advaitin, it is the Vivartavada, where the object, the effect is something which is a transfiguration. That's the word they use. Instead of transformation of the Sankhya, the Advaitins use a word to signify Vivarta, transfiguration. So the same rope, it appears to be of a different form. So that is called Vivarta. So with this, the Acharya is concluding the commentary for this sloka, 44th sloka. Rajvagnanat kshanenaiva yadvad rajurhi sarpini bhati tadvat chitihi. Chitihi is chaitanyam, pure consciousness. Sakshat vishwakarena kevala. Okay, Mandi sloka. Upadanam.
Upadanam prapanchasya brahmanonyanya vidyate tasmat sarva prapanchoyam brahmaivastina chetarat. Upadanam, substratum, prapanchasya of the universe, brahmanaha, Brahman, anyat, na, other than, not, vidyate, there, tasmat, therefore, sarva prapanchasya, the whole universe. I am this Brahmaha, Brahma, Brahman, eva, alone, asti, is, na, nothing, cha, and itarat, else, other than.
So now he is referring to this as the Upadana Karanam. Upadanam prapanchasya brahmanaha anyatena vidyate. For the world, the material cause is none other than Brahman. In the case of the Vaisheshikas, they say that the world is made up of some building blocks, and those building blocks they call Anu, Paramanu, that translates to atom. In the case of the Sankhya's, they say that the whole world is a product of Pradhana. They call something called a Pradhana. It's a Shakti for them. And the Pradhana is made up of three gunas like Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. It is the other name given by them for Maya only. So they say that the world is a transformation of the Mula Prakriti, which is called Pradhana. The Mula Prakriti gets transformed into Mahat, Abhyakta, Ahankara, and things like that. And then the Pancha Tanmatras, that is the Pancha five Sukshma Bhutas, that is the subtle five elements, and then that becomes gross five elements through the process of Panchikarna, and then this world that we experience. So they say that the Upadana Karanam of the world is the Pradhana, which is or Mula Prakriti. Whereas in the Advaita, we say that or Vedantins, all of them say that Brahman is the cause. Of course, in the Advaitins alone and Advaitins and Vishishta Advaitins accept Brahman as the Upadana Karanam for the world, and Nimitta Karanam also as Brahman alone. Whereas in the case of Dvaitins, they say that the Upadana Karanam is Prakriti and Nimitta Karanam is Brahman. So this kind of internal differences is there. But in any case, here in our context, that is the Advaita, Upadanam prapanchasya brahmanaha anyatena vidyate. There is no cause other than Brahman for this world. That is the material cause for this whole universe is Brahman alone. Tasmat sarva prapanchoyam brahmaivasti nacha itarate. Therefore, the whole universe is Brahman alone on the basis of or on the lines of the rule that the effect is non-different from the cause. So the non-difference of the effect from the cause has been taught in the Chandogya Upanishad in the Shvetaketu episode with the example of three analogies of clay products, gold and gold products, and iron products. So in this way, by taking these three examples, the Upanishad says that the products are actually only names given by us for the real material cause. So the cause alone is being given various names by the people to transact, But apart from the names and forms, the products are actually non-different from the cause, that is the clay or the gold or iron, whatever it is. So that is the way the Upanishad teaches. So here on the same lines, the Acharya says that the world being the product of Brahman is Brahman alone, non-different from Brahman. So what is actually the world? On the one hand, we say that the world is so many things are there in the world, so many entities are there, so many different objects are there. There is sentient objects and there are sentient people are there, sentient entities are there, and insentient objects are there. So these kind of things we say. But then the Vedanta ultimately says that whatever you say to be the content of the world, it is all simply names and forms alone. But the world is really, in truth, it is non-different from its cause, that is Brahman. So Brahman alone is appearing as so many things. Just like gold alone is being transacted as a chain, a ring, and a necklace and things like that. But it actually, ultimately, it is gold alone. The names and forms are only in the transactional level. So this is the way the Advaita Vedanta teaches. So here he says, Upadanam prapanchasya brahmanaha anyat na vidyate tasmat sarva prapanchoyam brahmaivasti na chaitarate. So in the commentary, the Acharya gives us a lot of information about on Vedanta. Atra hetum darshayan purvoktam upasamharati upadanamiti. So after having given the cause, the topic that was taken up is being concluded now. Yasmat prapanchasya akashadi dehantasya jagad vistarasya brahmanaha maya shabala chaitanyat anyat paramanavaha yadva prakritihi upadana karana visheshaha na vidyate tasmadva etasmad atmanaha akasha sambhutaha ityadi shrutehe tasmat hetoho iti spashtamanyate. So he is giving the commentary only for the first line and half of the second line, and with that he says that everything else is very, very clear. So he is giving good reasoning also. Yasmat prapanchasya. So what is the world? The world that we see is actually made up of the 5 elements, which is a transformation of the 5 elements, and the observer, that is the body-mind complex of the observer. So the observer can be any conscious sentient entity like a human, it could be animals, it could be insects and worms and things like that, birds and all that. So in any case, the observer is a sentient entity, and the observer is actually body-mind complex along with Atman. So here, the whole world is constituted of it is a combination of the kshetram and the kshetrajna. So kshetrajna, in the case of the kshetrajna, there is a part of the kshetrajna which belongs to the world, which belongs to kshetram, that is the body-mind complex, and the reactions that happens in the body-mind complex, all that is considered to be the kshetram only, that is observed only, along with the outside world of shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha and all that. But then the kshetrajna as a pure consciousness is distinct from the kshetra. So the kshetrajna, when we normally see, he is a person, but then the person is made up of 2 parts or 2 aspects are there. One aspect is definitely of the material aspect or the insentient aspect, which is the body-mind complex and the reactions that happen in the mind and the body. But then the pure consciousness is the chaitanyam, which does not fall into the category of the kshetra. So this kind of distinction we have to keep in mind when we read these lines. So yasmat prapanchasya akashadi dehantasya. So from akasha to the body. So he is summarizing the statements of the Taittiriya Upanishad. Tasmadva etasmad atmanaha akasha sambhutaha, which he is quoting here. Akashad vayuhu vayor agnihi agner apaha advya prithvi prithivya oshadayaha oshadibhyo annam annat purushaha. So all these things he is condensing in this one expression. Prapanchasya akashadi dehantasya jagad vistarasya. This is what the whole expanse of the world constitutes of. Brahmanaha Maya Shabalat Chaitanyat Anyat Paramanavaha. So this whole world is a product of Brahman alone. And what kind of Brahman? Pure Brahman, that is Brahman alone by itself cannot become the world. So there has to be the element or the participation of the Maya aspect also. So Maya Shabalat Chaitanyat. So Maya Shabalam means Maya, the Chaitanyam, which is in a way co-opted with the Maya Shakti. So with that alone, the world can come about. So these things are very clearly stated in the Gita also. Maya Adhyakshena Prakritihi Suyate Sacharacharam. So he says, Krishna says very well, that very clearly, that with me as the superintendent or supervising conscious entity or sentient entity, the Prakriti is the one which brings about the whole world of names and forms or beings, all beings. So the beings of Sachara and Achara world is being brought about by the Prakriti, with me as the superintending entity. So here, what he means is, by saying me, he means the Chaitanyam, which is Brahman, and by Prakriti, he means what is called Maya. So Maya and Brahman have to come together to bring about the world. And in another shloka, Bhagavan says that Mahat Brahma. So Mahat Brahma, Mahat Yonihi, Tasmin Garbham Dadamyaham. So this Maya is the Yoni in which I place the seed of creation. So what the seed of creation, what he means is Chaitanyam or consciousness, whereas the Prakriti, which is the Yoni, is the material cause. So the material is the Maya, whereas the sentient entity that is required for that to come into to bring about the world is Chaitanyam, that is Brahman. So here the Acharya says, Yasmat Prapanchasya Akashadi Dehantasya Jagadvistarasya Brahmanaha Maya Shabalat Chaitanya. Shabala means tainted or mixed. So tainted by Maya or mixed with Maya, Chaitanya. So it is Chaitanya only which is bringing about the world. But then the participation of Maya is also essential. So Maya Shabalat Chaitanyat Anyat Paramanavaha. So apart from this Maya Shabala Chaitanyam, Vedanta does not accept the Paramanu of the Vaisheshikas, nor the Prakriti, Mula Prakriti of the Sankhyas. That's what he says here. Anyat Paramanavaha Yadva Prakriti Upadana Karana Visheshaha Na Vidyate. So these two things are not accepted in the Vedanta as the basic material or building blocks of the world. For that, he is giving the Vedantic Upanishadic passage. Tasmadva etasmad atmanaha akashaha sambhudaha. So from that Brahman, which is the Atman alone, which is not different from the Atman, this Akasha has come about. And then from the Akasha, Vayu comes out. And from Vayu, Agni, and Agni, Jalam, and from Jalam, it is Prithvi. So here, what we have to remember is the Akasha does not bring about the Vayu by itself. So here the Acharyas have clarified that Brahman alone is the cause for Vayu also. It is not that Brahman is the cause for Akasha and Akasha takes over everything and then it produces Vayu and things like that. No, that is not the idea. So here the Vedanta clarifies that the Akasha, which is non-different from its cause Brahman, is the cause of the Vayu. And Vayu, which is non-different from Brahman, is the cause of Agni. And Agni, which is non-different from Brahman, is the cause of Jalam. So this is how the series is explained. Akasha Sambhuta ityadi shrutehe. So Tasmad hetoho iti spashtamanyate. So because Brahman is the cause of the world is non-different from Brahman. So that is what this shloka says. Upadanam prapanchasya brahmanaha anyat na vidyate tasmat sarva prapanchoyam brahmaivasti na charate na cha itarate. So and after that the 45th shloka, upadanam prapanchasya brahmano anyat na vidyate tasmat sarva prapanchoyam brahmaivasti na cha itarate. So that is the 45th shloka. So next 46th Vyapya Vyapakata.
Vyapya Vyapakata Mithya Sarvamatmeti Shasanat iti Jnate Pare Tatve Bhedasyavarasa Kutaha. Vyapya Vyapakata, the idea of pervaded and pervading, Mithya, false, Sarvam, everything, Atma, self, iti, thus, Shasanat, by the declaration of Shruti, iti, thus, Jnate Pare Tatve, when the supreme reality is known, Bhedasya, for differentiation, Avasaraha Kutaha, room, where is the room?
So now what we have seen before as Kshetram, that is the whole world, it is made up of the observer and the observed. So that idea he is bringing in this sloka by the words Vyapya and Vyapakata. So Vyapya Vyapakata Mithya Sarvam Atmeti Shasanat. Since the Upanishad says that everything is Atman alone, everything is Brahman alone, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, and so many statements are there in the Upanishads which clearly say that the whole world is Brahman alone. So when we take into consideration the Upanishadic statements like this, what we have to conclude is the Vyapya Vyapakata is Mithya. That is, Vyapya and Vyapakata, two terms are used here. They are normally given the meaning of something which is pervading and something which pervades and that which is pervaded. So that meaning is normally given. But here in this context, the Vyapya means that is what is internally, that is the knower or the observer. So the observer part is called the Vyapya, and the Vyapakata, by that word, the observed world is meant. So here in this context, the observer is denoted by the word Vyapya, and the observed world is denoted by the word Vyapaka. So Vyapya Vyapakata Mithya. So the observer and observed, this combined universe of observer and observed, this is Mithya. So what he means by observer is, or what we mean by observer in this context is the body-mind complex. That is the person who is called in the technical word is Pramatru, or the knower. So the knower, Pramatru, is no doubt consciousness, but then that consciousness which has identified wrongly with the body-mind complex and the sense organs. So the body, mind, sense organs, the whole complex is called the Jada or the insentient body-mind complex. But then that insentient body-mind complex cannot know the world by itself. So it has the requirement of the Atman to be added to it, or Atman to be attached to it. So the Atman which has identified itself wrongly with the body-mind complex and the sense organs and all that is called Pramatru, or the knower in this context. So that is also part of the world only. And the observed or the known item, what does the Pramatru know? He knows the world of, he seeks to know the world of taste, form and sound and things like that. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa and Rasa, Gandha. So that interaction has to take place. So for that, the objects have to be known, and for being known, the requirement of sense organs is there, and the requirement of the mind is there, and the requirement of a person is there. So this person is called a Pramatru. The body-mind complex is there, but then it is not Jada by itself. This identification with the of the Chaitanyam with this body-mind complex is the what is called the person or the Pramatru. So that's what the Acharya says, clarifies in this commentary also. So here, Vyapya Vyapakata Mithya Sarvam Atmeti Shasanad, because the Upanishad very clearly declares that the whole universe consisting of the knower and the known is nothing but Brahman. We have to conclude that the knower and known, everything has to be Mithya only. It is just like saying that a person is seeing the snake only, but then the person who knows the truth, he says that no, there's no snake. What you are seeing is the rope alone. So in the same way, the Upanishad says that what you are seeing as the world is Brahman alone. So Shasana, iti jnate pare tattve vedasya avasarat kutaha. So on the basis of the Upanishadic teaching, when a person comes to know that the world is nothing but Brahman, and really, in truth, there is no world of Shabda, Sparsha and all that, and there is no knower at all. So when such a realization has come, where there is room for any difference at all, Veda at all. So this Veda is the Veda between Brahman and Atman, and the Veda between Brahman and the world. So this kind of Vedas will never exist once the person comes to realize that the whole world is Brahman alone. Of course, when the statement is made, the whole world is Brahman, the idea that the knower also is, or the sadhaka, or the aspirant is also Brahman is taken for granted. So in that statement that Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, this is also included. So here we will stop the class. The commentary is there for us to delve deep into. A lot of information is given in the commentary. We will take it up in the next class of the 46th shloka. Shastram Shariram Mimamsa Devastu Parameshwaraha Acharya Shankaracharya Santume Janma Janmani Shri Harim Paramanandam Upadeshtaramikshwaram Vyapakam Sarvalokanam Karanam Tam Namamyaham Aparokṣānubhūti Prochyate Moksha Siddhaye Sadbhireva Prayatnena Vikshaniya Muhurmuhu Vidya Vinaya Sampannam Vitaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tatvajnam Vidushekara Bharati Om Tat Sat.